Hello, everyone. This is Wally with Supreme Gecko, and I have Darien with me. If you've been following the news, and it's big news, it came out. I posted on Facebook, big news coming, and I had about 1,000 people ask me, "What's the big news? Is this fake news?" It was real. That was I think, about 3 weeks ago, and Darien just posted last week. And the big news is, well, Darien, I'm going to let you, and thank you very, very much for joining the show tonight. I'm going to let you talk about MorphMarket and the impact and what you're doing. But first, can I ask you, because we're seeing a lot of posts and they're all related mostly to MorphMarket,
Yep.
how about introducing yourself? Tell us a little bit about who Darien is and some of the early days of how you got into the reptile hobby, and the big one was dubia.com, obviously. And then we'll talk about Morph Market in just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I got started, got my first reptile when I was 7. Had a few in between, the next few years, had a ball python, corn snake, leopard gecko, bearded dragon, things like that, all the basics. At that age, I was just glued to Animal Planet, and, I had I don't know, a million, reptile books and things like that. It was everything to me. So, watched a lot of Steve Irwin and Jeff Corwin and all those guys. And, really just, got the itch, I guess. And, it happened, when I was pretty young, and I was about 11, and I lived in Portland, Oregon, actually Oregon City, right outside of Portland. And a neighbor moved in across the street. He had, he's breeding bearded dragons, and did that for years. And I ended up buying some of his breeders and enclosures and things like that when I was about 11, and started, giving breeding, beardies a try, and failed quite a bit. Had a lot of a lot of issues. I tried, but at that age I wasn't very mature. That's for sure. But yeah, he got into boas and kind of got out of beardies, so I took that over, started doing that for quite a while. I did that for several years. Ended up trying to get into the whole website and SEO thing. I was trying to sell online, and at the time it was pretty much king snake,
Yep.
a little bit of fauna at the time, but that was it was tough to sell animals. So I ended up getting a internship unpaid at a marketing firm, and started learning web development and web design, and that kind of plays into the MorphMarket thing. So I've got some experience there with the coding side of things and management, and definitely the marketing. So that kind of played into that. After a few years of that, I decided to get back into reptiles, and when I was doing that, I saw that roaches were kind of a up and coming thing, and I had used them as feeders before, and noticed that it was just a really good source of food. So I basically got a bunch of roaches, started taking every penny I made and buying more and more, keeping them in my closet,
Yes.
getting them all over my house, all over my duplex. Sure, the neighbors weren't too happy about that, living in a duplex, but tried to keep them contained as much as possible. And then, yeah, ended up, building that up over a few years, and, it really took off. I was working 100 hours a week for years, when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, just building that up and trying to do something big. So that ended up, doing all right. Now I'm kind of moving into some other things, and I always have been passionate about reptiles, and MorphMarket was kind of the next big step in, my long-term goals, I guess. And I think it's, it's a way to, make some positive change, and hopefully, make a difference. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement.
Absolutely. And I think many people know you from Dubia.com. Tell me a little bit about that experience. You said that you were working 10-hour days, sinking all of your money into this dream to try to build it up. How obviously Dubia.com is now, one of the top roach producing companies. But tell me about that journey a little bit, about how you built it up.
Oh, it was yeah, a lot of ups and downs. I mean, we've really, I think I've experienced all the issues that, are possible from, years ago. We do things a certain way and had, issues with production and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of struggles in it. And, roaches are a completely different thing than crickets and mealworms and, all those. I mean, those have been, done forever. Producing roaches on a mass scale, having 10,000 colonies of roaches is, quite the management task. And there's a lot that can go wrong at that level. And, we've, yeah, failed quite a bit, had a lot of failures along the way, a lot of issues, anything from, pests and things like that, air quality, temperature and humidity, water, mold. I mean, there's so many things, you name it, we've experienced it. And luckily we've got all that, well taken care of now. And, I'm pretty particular about things. So we really, really put a lot into, quality control and different measures to, make things, work well. And that's, that's another big one. We're one of the few that has, facilities, spread out. I mean, I don't really know of many feeder companies with, 8 different buildings that are all, 10 minutes away from each other. It's a lot of management, a lot of cost. But, long term, I mean, it's really the best way to prevent any kind of outbreaks or any kind of issues. Worst case scenario, 25-30% of our production, might have an issue at any time if something were to happen. But, luckily we have things spread out, and, that'll prevent any kind of major issues. Cause we've had issues in the past where that's happened, and I've noticed that it trickles right down, quickly. I mean, as soon as we take, roaches out of stock, everybody's, looking for things. I mean, it's happened in 2018, 2019, we've had a few issues there, but, I don't think we'll really experience too much in the future with how we're doing things now.
You talk about that, but every feeder industry has gone through that. We just went through it with superworms. I don't know if everybody, in the chat is aware that we had a big die-off from a lot of the breeders with superworms recently. We've seen it with crickets. What was that, like 8, 9, 10 years ago with crickets?
Yeah.
And you just couldn't find them. So that quality control, I admire, your ability to be able to do that, and your foresight to set up your facility to accommodate that. I know I'm going to tell a real quick story, but I knew a fish keeping person years and years. This is 150 years ago now. It's probably about 30. He grew angelfish and became, such a big business. He built a facility, and he had people coming in all the time. And sure enough, somebody came in with something, who knows what. And he started seeing the tanks, one by one, hundreds of tanks, hundreds and hundreds of tanks, supplying the whole, probably half of the United States with angelfish. And, from one day having all these tanks filled with babies, and to within a week, all of them dead. So, I can't wrap my mind around that, but it sounds like you've kind of taken those precautions, and that's, again, very, very admirable. Dubia.com, huge, takes all your time. You've grown to be, again, such a huge company, huge supplier to the reptile industry. And if I tell you what, folks in the chat, if you're not using Dubias for some of your animals, you've got to use Dubias. So how and why in the world did you think that you could take on another venture like MorphMarket? It's crazy to think that Dubia.com, huge, and you're taking on MorphMarket. Tell me why, Tell me what led to that decision. Tell me what, kind of put it on the table for you to even be able to and I'm saying that you're taking over. You're the owner, but I know that the prior owner, all the people in Morph Market already, they're staying there and they're going to help this journey. But tell me about that whole process and what made you decide to do that.
Yeah, it's been a process. We I've been pretty fortunate to have a good team. I mean, Dubia.com, we've got over 100 employees now, and a lot of them, are just great people that have really, taken a lot of initiative. And luckily, for the next 6 months to a year, I'm able to kind of step away from a lot of things and, put a lot more of my time into MorphMarket, which is going to be great. If it weren't for that, I mean, I wouldn't have even pulled the trigger on something like this, because it's it's a lot. Those first few days, I mean, I was 14, 15 hours a day, just, looking through code and planning things out. Went down to Dallas and met with John. That was a good time. We were able to get quite a bit done there. But yeah, it's been pretty overwhelming. I mean, there's a lot going on there. And, Dubia.com, we still have, there's minor things every day that I'm dealing with, on that end of it. But yeah, luckily I have a great team that, are really, really pulling their weight and, working hard. So I'm hoping that, between that and some of the people we have on the MorphMarket team and some, new people that we've recently brought on, I'm hoping for a lot of success there. And, yeah, I'm going to be putting in a lot of my time and a lot of, I mean, everything I've got into MorphMarket, making it a better platform, and hopefully, doing good by, buyers and sellers alike. That's something that, I'm definitely passionate about. As I said, I used to work at marketing and advertising firms, and the whole thing that we did was, really helping, companies, increase their business and reach more people. And that was one thing that I always put. I was a teenager at the time, and but I tried my best to outwork everybody else. First one in the office, last one to leave. And I really put my mind to it when I was working on things. And a lot of companies, they were pretty happy with the stuff that I did. And that's what I'm going to do here. Put that same effort into everybody out there who are breeding reptiles, amphibians, inverts, hopefully eventually fish as well. That's something that we're going to potentially work on. So that's something we've recently started doing ourselves. We've got our exotic pets here in Wichita, our 2 pet stores, and fish. We've got a fish room in our second store, and we're opening a kind of a aquarium, I guess. And that's gotten a little bit more into the fish, the fish side of things. And at first I wasn't too into it, but it's definitely pretty fun. So
You might be. It sounds like in maybe 2 or 3 years, you might be joining forces with Aquarium Co-op or somebody like that to provide the fish end of things, where they provide the plants and everything else.
Yeah, we actually work with them right now. They supply our store. So we're working with a lot of smaller companies. That's my big thing. It's all about small, businesses. And I'm fairly outspoken about that. I think most people would say so. But yeah, I don't know. I've always seen, it's when you've got a small business owner, making their income off of this. I mean, it's tough competing with the big box stores. And that's always a struggle. A lot of, we sell to a lot of pet stores, and I know a lot of pet store owners, personally. And I've seen some of the struggles they go through. And I mean, yeah, they might be a business owner, but they're a lot of them really aren't making a ton of money. And that's something that I want to definitely help out with, because they're the ones that are passionate about the hobby, and they're not just out collecting a paycheck sitting on a yacht somewhere. So That's, you want to push for the people who are really into it, and, pushing for, the animals, and for, people are, I mean, we're dealing with live animals. It's, people, it's people's pets, that's something that, you gotta consider when you do stuff like this. And, that's something we've been pretty good at, so far, I think, making sure that people are happy. So,
When you talk about small businesses, I'll kind of veer away from the topic real quick. I have the same passion, and you talk about passion for small business owners, but it's also we have and will continue to see a lot of innovations from the small keepers, trying to do things differently, trying to do things better, and I think that that's why small businesses are so important.
yeah.
Um, MorphMarket. I just put a comment in the chat. Does everybody know what MorphMarket is? I know, but I don't want to explain it. You're here to talk about MorphMarket. Why don't you give us like a 4 or 5 sentence on exactly what MorphMarket is?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, we've had king snake and fauna and things like that. There's really The industry's been fairly fragmented until MorphMarket, in my opinion. Over the years, there's a lot of sellers that, people are out there, breeding reptiles, amphibians, inverts, things like that. And, it's really tough to find, people. Google is a lot more difficult than it used to be. It used to be a lot easier to find breeders, and now, you're not really finding them. MorphMarket, I mean, it's it brings everybody into one spot where you can, buy and sell, animals, and, preferably in a, ethical way. And that's something that, that I'm pretty passionate about, as you can tell. um, but yeah, I think there's Facebook for a while, Facebook was kind of big with that, but they started to crack down. And
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was going to ask. So we can't sell animals on Facebook?
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, I mean, I guess I understand it to a point. Like, they gotta, you know, do what they're gonna do, I guess. But, for a while there, I mean, that was the easiest way for people to actually, get their business out, and, you know, uh,
Yep.
educate people and approach people about this sort of thing, and get people into the hobby. Um, reptiles, or amphibians, and inverts have always been a pretty taboo, pet to have. And, I feel like it's going a little more mainstream, and that's a good thing. But yeah, I think, MorphMarket is just a great platform to, bring everybody into one place. And that's something we're going to take to the next level. We're going to add this local section here, in the coming weeks. And that is going to be awesome, because you're going to be able to connect with, sellers, within your area. And that's something that the industry's never had. They had that on Facebook for a little while. There were some Facebook groups that were kind of, local, uh, Kansas reptile classifieds, things like that. There were some groups that kind of facilitated that. But, this is something that, I mean, this is kind of next level, being able to see, breeders and pet stores, right within, and expos, nearby. And that's something the
Uh,
local section is going to be, you know, really helping with. And that's going to help with, buyers, because you're going to be able to save on shipping. You're not going to have to worry about, anything there, or, not seeing the animal. And then obviously sellers as well. And then pet stores, that's a big thing too. I see a lot of pet stores that are trying really hard to, do a good job. And, a lot of them, unfortunately have to buy, from a bunch of random places that, they don't really know. So hopefully this will, facilitate, a better way for people to buy reptiles, amphibians, and inverts, directly from breeders near them, and keep it kind of local. uh, you know, Kind of gets rid of a lot of the, middleman stuff, and, makes it to where you can kind of see things, just like at an expo. You go to an expo, see an animal right there, and you can see that it's healthy. You can see, and meet the seller face to face. And that's one other thing we want to do, in the coming months is add the ability for sellers to actually mark an animal as available at specific expos where, as a buyer, you can go on the expo page for, an upcoming show, and you can see, what's going to be available at the upcoming show, and actually, pre-order, or, just see what's going to be available, which is something that has never been around either. So I'm really excited about those two things. Yeah.
I am too. I am too. Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago, and I think that you and I had this conversation, or at least I had the conversation with you and sharing my experience. A couple of years ago, there was an online reptile show, and I thought it was a brilliant idea, just brilliant, where a lot of people, different locations, came together online. Here are the animals, different videos of their location showing off the animals. Great facilitation of a reptile show, but online. And I don't know how the shipping and all worked, but then it was dropped. Then there's nothing. I love reptile shows. We do, I don't know, probably 10 to 12 a year. I love going to reptile shows, and I think that that's a great experience that all reptile keepers should go through. But that whole, I want to buy this animal from this person, I want to buy this animal from this person, but it would be really nice if, oh, they're close together. Maybe they could, combine and ship instead of charging twice, charge once.
Yep.
So that's a feature. I see my wife Nanette coming in. Thanks, Nanette. Nanette, Darien, we started about 7 o'clock.
Darien, sorry, just got home from school.
We're talking about some of the new additions to MorphMarket. And I'm going to jump back just real quick, and if I miss some of these features, let me know. So MorphMarket is a place where you can add animals for sale. It's a place where you can go by category and look up animals that are for sale. You can chat with the buyer or seller. There's rankings, ratings of buyers and sellers. You can comment on your transaction. There's now genetic logs. I'm forgetting 1,000 things that MorphMarket right now is providing. And if I'm missing anything that you comes to your mind, Darren, can you let me know? Anything I missed?
Yeah, there's a lot of things on there right now, and there's quite a few things we're working on as well. We're going to get a lot more into the educational side of things. So, right now there's not really like, care sheets on animals, anything like that. No basic information. We're going to be adding some of our own care sheets that are going to be very basic, very straightforward. But we're also wanting to allow the ability for sellers and even, the general public to submit their own articles and care sheets. So as a seller, let's say you sell chameleons, you can, put your, Panther chameleon care sheet right on your account. And, that way, when you sell to people, you can say, hey, go read this. And when people are actually looking at, animals for sale on MorphMarket, there will be, information on, that specific animal and, that species and what the, care requirements are and expertise level, things like that. So that's going to be really good. And we're going to really push for, the educational side of things, because that's something that's really key. Because we are going to be pushing a lot to, more of the general public. We're going to be doing a ton of advertising and marketing and hopefully reaching a lot more people. We're going to be partnering up with expos around the country to promote MorphMarket and kind of work hand in hand and cross promote, because they get a lot of, brand new people as well. And the more visibility we have, the better. That's something that will, kind of benefit expos and MorphMarket. And if we can educate people at the same time, people at an expo buy an animal, that's going to be very important to have.
Absolutely. It's so refreshing to hear this. Most I'll say it like this. Some people that take over new ventures are looking at the monetary aspect of things. And, when you and actually, we started talking about this probably after you purchased, but the news wasn't out about MorphMarket. And I was talking about, um, private sites. And I think that you had first communicated with me that you were building your own site. And I was just so reluctant, and I talked to you about this. I was reluctant to say, well, it might be hard because I bet in the last 3 or 4 years, I've had 5 or 6 people come to me and say, hey, can you test this site out? And I keep thinking back to there's already a site that's doing a lot of this stuff already. And between the first conversation and we started talking later, and I found out that you had purchased MorphMarket, it was so exciting because some of the ideas that we had talked about was education, and broadening and things like that. One of the education is so important to me, but also there's a lot of little features that, if I'm not mistaken, are going to be added fairly quickly. I know there's a huge, future plan for MorphMarket, but I think that you've already talked about a couple of features that are going to be added maybe within the year or so.
Yep.
Something like maybe a wish list, if not already, added and just not released yet. You want to talk about some of those quick hitter kind of low hanging fruit items?
Yeah. So we're going to make it a lot easier for people to, review and give feedback on buyers and sellers. That's one feature that's really important that, people, I see all the time, people are posting and they're like, hey, how do I, buy my first reptile? Where do I buy from? Should I go to Petco, or, where should I go? And some people say MorphMarket. And there's also people that say, use MorphMarket, but be cautious and, check the reviews and things like that.
Yep.
And that's something that it's going to be tricky to do. I don't want to go on there and just say, oh, we're just going to crack down on a million things. And, if you mess up, see you later. But, if there are sellers or buyers who are, making consistent errors and, blatantly, just having blatant disregard for, the animals and what they're selling, that's something that we are going to start, enforcing a little bit more. Because that's the last thing anybody wants. People don't want somebody to get in a, mite infested snake, or, something with a, pre-existing issue. When that kind of stuff happens, it just looks bad on everybody, looks bad on the hobby, and, kind of steers people away from not only MorphMarket, but from buying reptiles, and that's something that we're going to really, really crack down on a little bit. So yeah, feedback and all that's going to be important. The local section, as I said, wholesale for pet stores to buy directly from breeders. That's going to be a big one. We are going to be offering some really cool features, things like sales and, some other upsell type features to people. I really want to give people a way to, promote, their businesses a little bit more on MorphMarket, to the public. So maybe some, different advertising, ventures long-term. But yeah, there's going to be a few things that are more long-term, like, a year out. Probably my ultimate thing here is having the animal platform to where, a buyer, they go and they buy a, leopard gecko from a local pet store, or from a breeder, or from an expo. And when they buy that animal, they don't really know what to do. The seller has to kind of educate them. But if they're at an expo and they're, the seller's busy, dealing with 3 or 4 people, they might just say, oh, go check out our website, Google, this, and this. they might get their information from somewhere that's not that great. You never know what they're going to find. So my goal is to really integrate MorphMarket and potentially our new, kind of social side of things, to where a buyer can add their animal, I guess we call it animal transfer. So the seller has the animal, it has a unique ID. That animal gets transferred to a buyer. The buyer can claim the animal. And now that, their pet, they can go on there and name it. They can put in all their info. They can add, feedings and schedules and things like that. And then also get, the care information and the education side. But then long term, it's going to be integrating all of this with the notifications and alerts and more of the data side of things, where we can go in and we can have push notifications go out to someone who recently bought a bearded dragon. It could say, hey, congrats on your new pet. Here's some information for you. We want some information from you as well. So, fill this out, and they can put in, what size enclosure they have, things like that. Every 6 months, we can have a notification that goes out suggesting a, vet clinic to visit that's reptile specific. And we'll have a list of vet clinics in their area, right there, where it's easy for them. And then also, over time, they'll be getting these notifications, and it might say, hey, your bearded dragon is 6 months old, and it's in a 20-gallon enclosure. We recommend, 40 or 75 or 120, whatever it may be, depending on the species and the animal. This is what we suggest. This is a recommendation from us. And so they're going to be getting these recommendations. The long-term thing, that's a little bit more tricky, and there's a lot, to it, but I really want to offer some sort of, maybe monthly update on every animal, to where, as a buyer, you're a new pet owner, and it'll ask you monthly, hey, we haven't seen a picture of your pet recently. They'll take they'll upload a photo, and maybe that's public or private, I don't know. But basically, now that person who might be a new owner, and they might not even know anything about reptiles, will actually be able to see, pictures and updates. And we can have a group of, 20 or 30 individuals that kind of scroll through those. And if you see an animal that's emaciated or something wrong, hopefully that can be, pointed out from us, and, maybe, help make a difference there. So that would be a huge one. It's kind of like your new pet, butler or whatever you want to call it, like we're going to, make sure that your experience is good, and that, and that's going to be great for sellers as well, because that's going to reflect, positively on them. So I think that's going to be a great one. And I did just see the comment here about, state and local ordinances and things like that. That's going to be a really tough one. I've thought about that a lot. I've thought about a lot of these things. I'm always open to ideas, suggestions, all that. But, there's some things that we should start to work on. And, but there's a lot of it's just very complicated. It's a complicated thing. There's a lot of different species, a lot of different cities and states. And, it's tough.
Just real quick here.
Go ahead, Nanette.
Just a heads up. If for some reason we go down, I just got notified by our cable company that there's an outage in our area. So far, we're good, but it won't come back up. They're saying until 9:30. So if we go down, we might be down.
So if you could hold on if we go down, if you could just stay online for another 2 hours, and we'll just bring. No, I'm just kidding. I know, and thank you, Nanette, for mentioning that. I know, Darien, your time is golden right now, so we're not going to keep you but another couple of minutes here. I wanted to touch on an important point that you just made. I love the get into the animal, and as a community, we can help you with that animal, and as it grows, and notifications after 6 months, pictures, and hey, it looks like your heat, is in the wrong place, or in a very positive, constructive and most importantly, for the care of the animal, kind of look at things.
Positive and constructive. That's the key.
Positive and constructive. Yes, and I just lost my train of thought. Doggone it, it's gone, and it will never come back until after the show. Then I'll think of the comment that I was going to make. Anyways, I think there's just so much coming here with MorphMarket. It's just incredible. If you don't know what MorphMarket is, please, everybody, please, 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 there's a link in the description. Frank the Tank has added the link. Thank you very much, Frank, to Duvia.com, to MorphMarket in here. What did we just? Oh, your power's going out.
We're okay. So,
Darien, what would you like to share with everybody as kind of a closing comment about MorphMarket and your intentions?
Well, I was just thinking, there's the comment section on here. So if anybody has specific questions, anything like that, I can take a few minutes to answer some of those before I go.
Absolutely.
Hopefully I don't get 100 on there all of a sudden. So, but yeah, I mean, really, I'm excited to, make a difference here, and, excited to see where everything goes. As you said before, some of these comments already, who's your favorite employee? All of them.
There you go. Very cool.
Yeah, I think, I'm excited for the future of this. And as you were saying before, people buying something like this for the financial gain. I don't plan on making any money from this thing for years to come. So it's more of a, hey, I'm going to do something new, do something unique. And, Dubia.com takes care of that side of things. So I have zero, intention to go on there and blast a bunch of, add a bunch of advertising and, increase prices, anything like that. So let's see if there's any interesting.
So we're not going to see like a 200% increase in cost. Yeah.
Maybe for certain sellers,
Right. I love it. As you're reading the comments, Darien, I did have a thought, and it led off of your comment about us helping everybody, that any new buyers, anybody coming into the situation as a new buyer, but also as a new seller. There's 100 different places to go out and YouTube how to ship your animals, how to ship a reptile.
Yep.
But if there's one true source of information, and it could be MorphMarket, here's 3 videos you can watch. It doesn't have to be one. It could be 3 choices, something like that, to say, oh, if you're selling an animal, everybody makes mistakes, especially with your first 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Here's somewhere where you can go, and if a buyer says, hey, you sent this crested gecko with a single piece of paper towel in this 12-inch deli cup, everybody makes mistakes. If we could do that in a constructive way of, here's a video on that you might want to watch on how to pack crested geckos, how to ship crested geckos.
Yeah, and that's something we're doing. As I had mentioned, as I announced yesterday, we're going to be allowing seller or all shipping companies on there, and the shipping page is now going to become more of an educational page on, hey, this is how you ship, this is the recommendations. And I'm going to get those recommendations based on collective, all of the shipping companies collectively. So I'm going to have them, work together to put one standard, set one standard rather than, hey, this is what we recommend. I think that's going to be key here is, people working together and deciding on some specifics that are like, hey, this is a basic, standard that we need to set. So I think that'll help quite a bit, at least on the shipping portion of things. Let's see.
So Juan is asking, can you buy Facebook too? I know that there's going to be an integration to some kind of a manager. So if you could just go grab Facebook and just integrate that, all the coding, I'm sure it wouldn't take you but a couple of days to integrate all that. So
no, I'm not an alien. I can't handle that. That's too much for me. Zuckerberg can keep that one.
Yeah.
Can a portion of the sale directly go to charity? So something I am very outspoken about is conservation and USARK as well. We are going to be adding some features in the near future for individuals who go on MorphMarket to either donate monthly to things like conservation, USARK, have a premium account, MorphMarket Plus, probably what we're going to call it. And that's going to, be something where, we're going to be putting money directly into USARK and into charity, and people are going to get, kind of a verified, a few features and, kind of a verified buyer badge so that sellers can see that they are actually paying at least, and that they're putting something into it. So
Love the idea. I know as a seller, and I'm not selling lots and lots and lots on MorphMarket, but occasionally, and people are usually good. People are usually,
yeah.
I'm interested in this. Can you show me a picture? How old? A couple of questions back and forth. And thank you. I found another animal. Or no, I'm not interested. I was really looking for very, seldom. Once in a while, you have the ghosts where I'm interested. Would you do this much? And then just disappear without any kind of a reply.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of maybe that matching, seller's ranking with maybe a buyer's ranking, and somehow if that could be automated.
Yeah, we're implementing that in the next week or two. So in the next couple of weeks, couple of weeks, we'll have a buyer rating feature. So when you get the message in right at the top, you're going to see, kind of a basic, like, 1 to 5 and a couple other things that'll say like, okay, this person's likely to, buy or unlikely to buy. Some of them won't really have that because they're new to it. So that's something, over time as they, put in more inquiries to buy, that's going to change. Let's see. Do all sellers check their buyers and make sure they have a proper setup? No, we don't really have anything to do with that. I mean, that's all up to the sellers, but we are going to implement some things where we can have like some basic standards and say, hey, these are suggestions that we have, to sellers, as well as to buyers, just kind of a, recommending, care guides and things like that. That's something that I think is important moving forward.
If you see another question, go ahead and grab it. Otherwise, I'm going to ask the final question and let you go here, Darien. Let me know if you see something.
Requirement for listing imported animals. So that's something that I am going to be working on over the next few months, is really figuring out a better way to label every animal on the site. I have noticed that some sellers have been putting animals up. They say that it's, captive bred or self-produced, and it's obviously wild caught or farm raised, imported, whatever, however you want to classify that. So we're going to add these different classifications, and we are going to make it very strict. Hey, if you're constantly marking animals as captive bred, I mean, I've bought animals in the past. I had no idea. I'd never even bought, any kind of imported, or wild caught animals in the past. And, owning a pet store, I started to realize that a lot of stuff, that was a big problem. We started getting a lot of stuff in with issues and, parasites and things like that. And that's something we don't want individuals to have to deal with, especially a new pet owner. That's the last thing we want is somebody buying their first animal and, their first reptile. And, they have to deal with, taking it to a vet and dealing with, treatments and things like that. So that's something that I just don't want to have. I want to make that very clear and, that this animal is wild caught. And if people are marking stuff incorrectly and not being honest about it, then, they won't be on MorphMarket for.
There you go. See ya. Real quick, and then I'm going to add one, and then I'm going to let you go. I said that a little bit ago. How are you going to actively stop scanners from creating multiple accounts? I'll preface what you're going to say by saying nothing's perfect. Nothing's perfect. There's
Yep.
going to be ways where if somebody wants to do something, they're going to be able to do it. But to try to catch that 99 percentile, I'm sure that's what you're shooting for.
Yeah, we already have MorphMarket already has several things in place. We get notifications that someone, that one account or user might be, the same as a previous user that was removed, or or that people have multiple accounts. We're keeping track of IP addresses and other things. So that's pretty accurate. We're gonna, hopefully improve that over time. But right now, it actually is pretty good. So we can see, yes, we can see if people are going and creating 10 accounts just to review themselves. So be aware of that. We will see that, and we can tell. So just, it is the internet. So everything you do is seen, that's just how it goes. So, I guess just, don't be shady. So
Yes.
pretty
Last
simple.
question, then I'm going to let you go. I, again, really appreciate, this is my question. This is going to be a quick one. This is very, very, very important. I so appreciate you being with us tonight. This has been an exciting time for you, obviously. And it's, as you can tell from the comments on Facebook and all over the place, this is an exciting time for MorphMarket. You've talked about a lot of changes that are coming. Is there a place, and there might be, but I might have missed it. Is there a place on MorphMarket that shows all of the changes as they're coming through, kind of like an updated list, a recent release list or something like that?
So yeah, actually the blog or the news section,
Okay, sure.
it does have most things on there. Sometimes they are stacked, so like in one blog article, there will be multiple things. But yeah, that's going to be something to really check out. I'm going to be posting a lot of stuff on the MorphMarket, socials as well. And then we do have the MorphMarket community, which is, that's another great place to, discuss things and see what's going on. That's something that we're going to be doing as well. So that's, yeah, that's going to be a good place to actually see, different, updates and any kind of important information. A lot of the stuff is actually also on the notifications. So you'll see, if you have an account, you'll see like a little like notification banners that you can click off of, and those are going to be right at the top, like on the mobile site or the app. And we're going to be announcing a lot of things there, so you're going to start getting more updates on that.
Perfect. Again, very excited. Darien, thank you very, very much for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing this information. Thanks for moving MorphMarket forward in the way that we saw it moving toward that, and just wanted to see it continue to move forward in a very positive, educational, and the key word here is community kind of aspect. So thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
I'm going to let you go. Everyone that's in the chat, I'm going to stay on for probably another 10 or 15 minutes. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, again, thanks. We'll see you later, Darien. You can go ahead and good night. Go ahead and jump off anytime that you want to.
All righty. All right.
Thank you a
guys
bunch.
have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
So many great comments here in the chat. I tell you, if it's not apparent, I am so excited with this. The things I really like is the wish list. And if you don't know, I started a wish list probably about 4 or 5 years ago on our business page, things that we were producing or something that somebody was looking for and I don't have. If I didn't have it, then I tried to point people to the breeder that had them, or if I did have the animals, I could give you, a chance to put your name down. I want a female Dalmatian crested gecko, and then once I got those in the facility available, that I could contact everybody or whoever had that comment and let you know that they were available. So a lot of key things here with MorphMarket. Not only is it I keep saying this, but and Darien went through this. We went from king snake, we went through fauna, Facebook. Everybody was using Facebook for a long time. Facebook said, no. Yeah, it's obvious that they want the ads, and you can see sales of animals through their ads now. But now we have a one source for animal sales called MorphMarket. We've had it for a while, but you can see that it's going forward so in such huge steps. I'm stoked beyond words right now. Cassandra, you had a question about animal care, and we kind of talked a little bit about that. We touched on it, where the thought is that there are going to be care sections, not just on reptiles, or not just on snakes or geckos, but down to the here's how you keep a crested gecko. Here's how you keep a Nephurus melii. Here's how you keep knobtails. Things like that. So there's going to be sections where it's not just sell an animal, buy an animal, sell an animal, buy an animal, rank, and message a couple back and forth a couple of times. There's going to be a lot added from an educational standpoint. I hope that answered your question, Cassandra. I really think so, Karen. Already it's becoming the source for, and again, there's going to be issues with everything that you see. There's always going to be someone trying to scam the whole process, but already you can see MorphMarket. I've had several transactions on MorphMarket, and I can't think of a bad transaction. I've had a few people kind of do the, hey, I'm interested here. Can you share a picture? And then nothing back from them. That's going to happen with, any site that you go to. It really is. Who has questions? Who has questions about how MorphMarket works, what MorphMarket is all about, where we see MorphMarket going? I asked it earlier, and I didn't see any replies, but in the chat. But who's used MorphMarket? In the chat, put buy if you've bought animals off of MorphMarket. Put sell if you have sold animals on MorphMarket. I've purchased and I've sold, and again, all the experiences that I've had have been really, really good. Animals come in. I actually bought some wild caught animals off of MorphMarket, knowing full well quarantined for several months, and now those animals are breeding for me. So I'm happy with any of the transactions. Grumpy Little Moose, as a new buyer with the feedback coming out, do you feel like they'll skip over someone with zero feedback? That's going to be a challenge. But already I see Darien talking about, it's not just a case of Karen buys an animal from Wally and she gets it, and it doesn't have as many spots on its left side, and the picture was from the right side. So Karen gives the big thumbs down to Supreme Gecko. I don't ever want to buy an animal from you again. And all of a sudden I can't sell on MorphMarket. It's not going to be that case at all. He's made it evident that this is a learning process. And like my example before, somebody sends out a crested gecko and it's just one little tiny tissue paper on the bottom of the deli cup. It's all about education and trying to bring people up to speed and doing it the right way. So he mentioned before that there's going to be a process. It's not going to be an automation. One bad mark and you're banned for 2 years. You're in the MorphMarket jail for 2 years.
J-Book has a question.
Who's that? Okay, go ahead.
Right there.
What percentage do they take when selling on MorphMarket? I wasn't sure if Darien already mentioned it. Great question. It's not a percentage. It's actually you can sell for free a certain number of animals. You can list a certain number of animals on your account for free for a certain time period. However, if you want to list more animals than the minimum, then you pay a subscription. You'll have to go through the list for subscriptions. I do, every year, and I'm at the bare minimum. I should have a higher subscription, but I think it's $100 for a year. And, we made up that in the first month that we were on MorphMarket. So there is a minimum for selling a certain number of animals. I hope that answered the question.
Dope critters.
Huh?
Dope critters. Down a couple. Does
Yep.
MorphMarket show if buyers or sellers have permits necessary for specific species?
No, I can't see that comment. Say that. I'm sorry, Nanette.
Stop. Right. Go down two. Go down. Go down. Right.
Got it. Okay, sorry. Does MorphMarket show if buyers or sellers have permits necessary for specific species? So again, that's one of the points that Darien mentioned, was that this is going to be tough from a compliancy standpoint. I'll give you an example. Recently, and maybe we could talk about. I see an isopod in your avatar there. Somebody asked for banded geckos. So I had to ask the question, are you from California? Western banded geckos. And they were, so I couldn't send to them. So that's all about me being a seller, doing the right thing, and not selling geckos to somebody that can't, legally bring them into their state. Talking about isopods, you need, permits to sell certain specific isopods. Does it happen where sellers are sending out isopods that they don't have permits for, or that aren't even on the legal list to send out? Yes, it does. How does MorphMarket handle that? Does it maybe have a little badge that you can display on your profile that says isopod good, meaning that you have the permits? I don't know. That's a great question, though, and I am going to take that back to Darien as maybe a suggestion for something that they can do in the future.
Can you sell anything that's non-living, like caging?
I know that's coming up. Right now, I don't think you can sell hard goods on, and I might be wrong. I don't think you can sell hard goods. I just haven't looked for hard goods. I specifically go right to the gecko section and the weirdo. There's actually a section called weirdo geckos. No, it's called other geckos, but that's pretty much for weirdos. I go to that section and I pass over some of the other stuff. So I'm not sure, but I know that he's been talking about, a hard goods section.
Is there a list of animals that can be sold?
Yes, absolutely. And I wish I could go there now, but I'd probably drop this whole session. Absolutely. Yeah. Go to morphmarket.com. Thank you, Frank, for listing that link. You can go to MorphMarket and you can see it by category. So you can see all the geckos, or you can see all the crested geckos subcategory, or you can see all of the Dalmatian crested geckos. So it's a subcategory to get to actually where you want to go to.
Okay.
Is there a Facebook thread on MorphMarket, or is it that only on Facebook? I don't.
Is there an FBI?
Is there a FBI thread?
I don't know if
I'm Puget Sound Pythons. What is FBI? I think is that kind of like a buyer beware meaning? I'm not sure.
Should there be a notice for rear-fanged venomous animals?
Certainly seems like there should be. When we're talking about compliancy and permits and everything like that, I would certainly think that there would be. If I'm not mistaken, King Snake kind of dealt with that already in some regards.
Feedback and inquiry.
Yep, kind of a feedback thing. Is there on MorphMarket? I don't. Well, let me say it like this. After a transaction, the buyer can rate the transaction 1 to 5 stars and allow the seller to know how the transaction worked for them, and then the seller can rate the buyer as well. I think but the only problem there is that it only relates to somebody that has bought something and somebody that has sold something. So if you have not purchased or have not sold something on MorphMarket, then there really isn't a rating. So there isn't a section where you can go and say, hey, Wally Kernet, Supreme Gecko sells Dalmatians that are blank on their left side. So that, again, is something that Darien said that they're going to be working on and might be coming sooner rather than later.
Frank wants a waffle section.
There should be a waffle section. There should be a hard goods what could we call it? Like cartoon characters or something like that.
Waffle lizards.
But then you'd have to sell Waffles, and Waffles is gone,
He's in
as we all know.
pieces.
Waffles is pieces.
He was dealt with by the
He
fur
was dealt
baby.
with. Rare lizards, I love it. There isn't a section for rare lizards. That's interesting.
Now, what do you classify a rare lizard as, though?
503. Yeah, boy. Other geckos. Rare lizard. I don't know.
Well, that would be-
Komodo dragons? I don't
Is that
know.
what-
No, it's not. Any other questions? You guys came here to see Darien, not me. So I'm thankful that everybody's holding on. We get 42 people watching now. I'm sure we have 42 likes. Here we go. Is there, whoops, grab the
Is there an
wrong
age
one.
limit for a person to buy or sell?
Don't know for sure. I'm guessing there's probably not. I know that when I purchased, there was no age requirement. So, Cassandra, since you're like 12, I guess you can go ahead and go. I'm just kidding you. I don't think that there is any age limit at all. And that's, again, really super tough to administer, manage points like that. Because if I'm 12 and I want to buy a lizard, I'm going to buy a lizard. And if you say, hey, what's your birthday? I'm going to put in,
Anything.
1960, or I'm going to say, well, I can't buy. So, hey, older brother Billy, can you come over here and buy something? But it's really for me. So how, it's going to be hard to track something like that.
That was Karen's. That was part of my question. Is she said kids purchase with their parents' cards, so I want to talk to them before they buy now. Yes.
Yeah.
Is mayonnaise and okay. Could be. Depends on what you call an instrument. Just let it go.
Yeah, it's super tough with kids. I can generally tell, when I get inquiries, if somebody goes to the store and purchases off of our store for, isopod food or isopods or geckos, it's a done deal. It's like somebody walking into Walmart and self-checking out. But if somebody does an inquiry, I can kind of sometimes tell if they're a little bit younger. And then I go through another myriad of questions just to make sure, that they're capable of keeping and caring for an animal. We do this a lot at reptile shows. We have somebody walk in, that's younger, and we just absolutely make sure that they're capable of working with a reptile. And if they're not, capable of working with something like a viper gecko that only gets about this big, then we suggest, other animals. I love Monty Python references. That's why I took checkout off the website, so they have to message us. I can't imagine the time, Karen, that would take. Way to go for that, but just the amount of time to process every single potential sale would be super tough. I want to use my parents' card to buy a reptile.
Okay. Good luck.
That's it. Exactly, Cassandra. Intrepid, don't ask me what my favorite color is. Blue.
What?
No, orange.
That's red.
My favorite color is not red.
No, I know it's not. I'm just saying it should be, though.
Should be. Why should it be red?
Because you like red gecko, the red morph line or whatever better.
It's
See, I don't
orange.
even
It's
know what I'm
orange.
talking about.
We're going to let everybody go. Thank you very much for all of your questions. If you have suggestions for MorphMarket, if you have ideas, if you have comments, whatever, if you want me to pass something on to Darien, certainly message me on. If you don't want to go to him directly yourself, which you can certainly do, if you want me to kind of interpret or process, just send me a private message on Facebook. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This was a blast. I'm so excited. I'm going to see if we can have Darien on at a future date. You know what? Give me just 1 second real quick here, folks. Hang in there for 1 more minute. I'm going to do something here, folks, which I think we had somewhere, but go ahead and message Darien yourself, or just message me and I'll pass the word on. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thanks, Nanette, for coming in like 2 minutes before the end of the show.
Thanks.
And we'll see you next video.
Happy
Bye-bye.
Easter.